Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me. I'm back. This is part 2 of What If Isagi had a talent enhancement weapon. As always, if you enjoy, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I also want to say thank you so much for 30,000 subscribers. I do plan on doing a 30,000 subscriber special. I can't believe we're actually here. When I look back at basically when I first started the channel, it's kind of mind-boggling that we're here with 30,000 people. Just wild to even think about. But yeah, I appreciate all the support. With that said, it's now time to get into part 2. Let's get it. Now this is the beginning of something truly great. Isagi, as this attack midfielder, has made for a spectacle in Blue Lock. Even one that Jinpachi Ego realizes to be something amazing. Now this, well, is no understatement. It's the furthest thing from an understatement, because Jinpachi Ego can see talent everywhere, and that talent will continue and would continue to shine throughout the next match. The next match is Team Z versus Team Y, and Team Y has two crucial players they need to key in on, that being of Nico and Okawa. Nico is more or less the distributor, very similar to Isagi, just different in many ways. Nico is someone that can set people up for goals deep down the field and so on. But the things that Isagi can do far outweigh the things Nico can do. Isagi makes every single person on the field better. And when the first time they get the ball and he scores with ease using Kira, passing it easily to Kira as Kira would score his first goal, racking up goals with ease, frankly, it's obvious that they outweigh everything, or Isagi's talents outweigh everything Nico can provide. Nico himself, he might be a better striker than Isagi, better at getting his own goal. But Isagi is having insane benefits with his off-ball movement and his ability to pass the ball and extending the range of many people on his team. But there's something that Nico's team thought about. Maybe they can get the ball down the field and score a goal. Yes, shoot one to Okawa and hope that it works out. But here's the issue. His talent enhancement and his, way of making people so much better, let's just say it makes the defenders, someone like Raichi, someone a gritty and attackful defender, actually more productive. It's as if he's giving him more stamina, but that's not necessarily the case. Isagi is always pacing and running around the field. In doing so, it's as if he shrinks the field entirely. It feels as if the other team can only play to a certain extent of the field. Very similar to the cage he could put around Bachira, forcing 1v1s, he does the same thing defensively. But he doesn't do it necessarily himself. He uses someone like Raichi, or someone extremely fast on the defensive side of the ball, and he more or less uses them in a way to put a cage into a 1v1. But this 1v1 is the farthest thing from fair. It all relies on a 1v1, but it's as if it's an open cage. It's a 1v1 that the more or less the player with the ball feels as if they can't pass it. They can only try to get around this one person, but their peripherals are so shaded, are so darkened, well, it's as if they don't see the incoming people or the other people coming in from out of nowhere to steal the ball. Now this right here, well, it's one hell of an issue for Okawa and Nico. And the main reason why is because their plan is just flat out simple. Way too simple. So Isagi was set up defensively that he could basically shut down everything that's coming, at least for the mass majority of it. Isagi, though, would continue to more or less use his connection with Kira, setting him up for easy goals, drawing defenders away, and increasing the striking of Kira to a larger extent. Even Kira himself has found his own weapon, being that of a shooting-like weapon, a weapon that he has relatively good and pinpoint accuracy, very similar to a direct shot of some sorts. But with Kira, he has more distance. He is a slightly bigger frame than Isagi, and his intelligence seems to be pretty good as well. But at the same time, there are big question marks to know if Kira can really play on his own or not, which that's the truth behind it. We don't necessarily know. Can really Kira do much on his own? Can he show off to everyone else and do things that are, well, insane and egotistical on his own? Well, he's not even an egotistical person. He wants to prove to everyone that he is no egoist and that he doesn't need an ego to succeed. Even Isagi doesn't have necessarily an ego at all either. But still, it's something kind of weird, because at the end of the day, the value of a player is all because of, well, the amount of goals they score, in which would be pretty obvious that Kira would be pretty high up there, especially probably still being number one on his team because of the volume of goals he would eventually score. And that would be the fact of the matter. He would score a lot of goals, but Kunigami and Bachira and some other people would score some goals as well. I mean, Kunigami is actually really fun for Isagi to play with. Same thing with Bachira. They're brand new to him, but still very entertaining, and they have very unique skills. Getting Bachira one-on-ones is actually the funnest thing for Isagi to watch. It's pretty entertaining. Kunigami being able to score from anywhere makes him lethal, while he just kind of stalks through the shadows, kind of just hides away, and then out of nowhere when the ball gets placed in the air for him, it's as if it's a finishing goal, a goal for the ages. But Isagi kind of tells Kunigami as well that he really needs to bide his time, approach the situation calmly, strategically, and look for his openings, hide in the shadows, so that when he comes out as the hero they all need, everybody can stand there and watch as he shines in front of everybody. And Kunigami would definitely take this to heart, and it more or less feels like the Team Y match kind of just becomes a lesson and just a way for them to get better, which all of them would get better, but Kira would rack up a ton of goals, at least 5 to 6 in this match alone, leading them to winning by a ton of points. We're talking about winning 8, 9, maybe even 10 to 0. And really, none of these goals ever came from Isagi. Mostly assists, but obviously assists do run out in terms of time. Just because he passes the ball to Bachira and he dribbles all the way and scores himself doesn't necessarily give Isagi assist for that goal. It kind of does, but in some instances it definitely wouldn't, and sometimes they even pass the ball to someone else, so he wouldn't technically get those assists. But still, even Ego can see that Isagi is kind of controlling everything on the field, even though he doesn't have like some insane eyesight, but just the threat of the fact that he could get someone else open, or the threat that he could be open, is enough for the defense to crumble. And especially because the defense is completely and entirely made up of strikers, there's massive inexperience there. It's as if Isagi's playing against a bunch of people that don't know how to even move their feet properly, don't even know how to side shuffle, don't even know how to cover, guard, or anything. So it's actually relatively simple, and the process of it is relatively easy. With that said though, the destruction of Team Y would finally be brought to an end, and Isagi would tell his team and talk to them about a celebration, and they would all celebrate, being happy about the win and so on and so forth, and they would speak about what they should think about doing next, that everyone should get a turn being a striker, but it seems as if everyone's kind of content with what they're doing. It's pretty obvious that this is going to be their game to lose, in terms of like, it's their there's only people that are going to beat them or themselves. So they're okay with kind of taking a backseat and allowing Isagi to still more or less be the architect, be the maestro of the entirety of the team. Something that Isagi is really happy with, because he's always wanted to try this, have a bunch of talent around him, and utilize that talent to its fullest extent. So in this regard, he's actually pretty happy. But even Ego would question himself a lot while watching their interactions, because, well, it's weird that someone with literally no ego would be this exciting for Jinpachi Ego to watch, to understand. But more to understand more things to understand will come once they take on Team W. But before Team W the whole thing could happen, Isagi would speak to the one and only Chigiri. He would speak to him and ask him about his weapon and so on. But Chigiri would say that he doesn't have a weapon and it's really none of his business, but a conversation over the next course of this time would kind of ensue. He would talk to him about why he's not trying and why he kind of wants to throw away his chance at being great. Chigiri doesn't really listen to this initially, but then would reveal about his ACL tear, about how he used to be the fastest, he used to be the best, but now he's just sitting here waiting for his dreams to die. Isagi would tell him that, well, he's not even a striker, that he can't let his dreams die. Not the dream of becoming the best striker. Don't let someone that's not even a true striker pass him up. Isagi would ask him one more time if he could please unlatch those chains, break through whatever he can, and push along. And Chigiri would say that he may make everybody else on the field better, but he can't fix what's mentally broken on Chigiri. Chigiri makes this clear. He says mentally he's not all there, and there's no fixing that, there's no changing that, and there's nothing Isagi's words can do. But eventually they would realize, and everybody would realize, this was wrong. All it takes is a bit of trash talk. Isagi and Team Z would take on Team W, and they would be clashing. It would be obvious what Team W wants to do, being that of, well, the twins, the Wanama twins, kind of taking point. More or less going at it with them, back and forth, and just utilizing their insane coordination. But Isagi, he points this out, saying that they're kind of cool. They're fast, they have pretty good ability to more or less make each other better. And he looks at Kira and says they're similar to them. And Kira would kind of nod his head and say that, yeah, they're pretty good. They're really impressive. But he thinks that they might have a bit of a edge on the Wanama twins. Hey, him and Isagi might not be twins, but they're pretty damn good. At least that's what he thinks. And this would be proof when the Wanama twins would get defended and guarded by not only Raichi, but also Isagi and Kira combined. This would allow for more or less people to collapse on open space and easily just disregard the Wanama twins' coordination to the point that they can't even get the ball in their hands. This is perfect. Isagi wants to be able to more or less manipulate all the players around him without worrying about defensively more or less considering the Wanama twins. So when this occurs, well, Isagi can put everybody in everything like chess pieces, but it's as if every single chess piece is a queen. He moves them all around to what he wants, setting up Kunigami for amazing goals, setting up Kira for easy tap-in goals, setting up Bachira for one-on-ones, and watch him have fun against some of these people that's, well, can't even keep up. And Bachira would even think to himself that he's found the monster he's been looking for, that he now has more or less found his way around and has found his new method of enjoying football. Now that's right there is amazing. Isagi is just doing more and more, and is just straight up the catalyst for many, many people on his team. And at the end of the day, all he's doing is making people that much better. So the Wanama twins, they may have some sort of success, and they might get through every so often, but at the end of the day, the field is too cloudy. The darkness that surrounds their peripheral vision is too dark, and it seems like the light of being a striker continues to dim on the Wanama twins. The chances of them getting through continue to dim to black. Isagi may not have an ego, but at the same time, he knows that he is dooming the fate of every last person here, well, to more or less obscurity with every single evolution he creates. Raichi getting better at defending, well, Bachira getting better at dribbling, more or less developing even greater styles of utilizing his dribbling. On top of that, well, Kira's evolution himself being able to be an even better striker, and Kunigami's insane range all lead to darkness for every last of the team, or every last of every single team, at least all the teams that are going to be at the bottom two. With that said though, Isagi, well, can't really think much about it. At the end of the day, he has to worry about the survival of him and his other team. So when it's all said and done, and it all wraps up to be 3-0 or 3-0 based on, or in terms of their record, but the game would end with the Wanama twins failing and, well, Isagi's team winning by a massive margin. They're up 3-0, more or less. They have 3 wins, 0 losses, and their last game is against Team V. And let's just say, there's really no point at even playing this game. The game's already over. I mean, he doesn't have to do much after that. Isagi seemingly is in a position now that he doesn't necessarily have to worry about this next game, the game against Team V. But when he hears something from one of them, something within himself would make him itch, as if his skin is crawling, as if there's this sensation coming over his head that just makes him so angry. Maybe, yeah, angry. And that's, well, is because of one thing and one thing only: Nagi. Nagi begins to talk about how football is boring, that he doesn't care about it, that he doesn't care about this game. And this is the first time anybody and anyone has seen Isagi angry. And he would be angry, very angry. He would snap at Nagi, telling him that if he doesn't care about the game, he should just quit now. He's just wasting a roster spot. At this point, he should just leave. I mean, if he's saying all these things, he must be a joke. And everyone is completely losing their mind, Bachira included. Bachira would grab Isagi, picking him up and carrying him away. He would apologize for his friend, but Isagi would say that he's not apologizing to anybody, that he should be thrown out of Blue Lock if he doesn't care about football, that he should really choose his words more wisely, and that he's going to smash them into the... And as they walk out, you can no longer hear Isagi's voice. But Bachira would tell him to calm down. That's kind of unbecoming of him to act in such a way. But Isagi would regard, or would talk up to Bachira, asking why it even matters. And he begins to say that at the end of the day, Bachira would probably like him more like this anyways, no? In which Bachira laughs about this and says that is true. He does like a feisty Isagi. It's actually pretty funny and actually pretty cool. But Isagi's so pure, and he's been pure this entire time. Don't break that now. And frankly, there's no reason for him to break that. Don't worry about what other people are saying. It's not like he's ever worried in the first place, so why worry now? But he hears this from Bachira, and he begins to nod his head. You know what? You're right. You're right. I shouldn't care. I shouldn't. He walks away from Bachira, but then Bachira looks back at him, the back of his head, and he says, "But we're still gonna crush them, right?" And Isagi would turn around with a smirk and say, "Hell yeah, we're gonna crush them. Hell yeah, we're gonna crush them." And immediately it would cut to the Team V match. Team Z versus Team V. A match that it would be pretty impressive on paper if it really mattered. But the fact is, Nagi, Ryo, and Zantetsu are the three core pieces, and they're extremely hard to stop. Luckily enough, Isagi's, talk no jutsu did get through to Chigiri. So last game we did see Chigiri kind of show his speed once again, but it's all because of, the Wanama twins talking some smack. Hey, sometimes you just got to keep your mouth shut, because if you keep your mouth shut, well, bad things don't happen all the time. You know what I'm saying? But still, with that said, Isagi and Team Z take on Team V. And Team V with Nagi is a spectacle. Nagi is extremely talented. Extremely talented. So at the end of the day, it kind of becomes an issue. It's extremely hard for anybody to guard Nagi, even with Isagi's talent enhancement weapon, even making it so it's harder for Nagi to handle one-on-one. His peripherals are restricted, and so on and so forth. It's still extremely difficult to guard him entirely because of just everything Nagi can do. His insane ball control, his rhythm, and on top of that, just flat out his passing ability too. The way he draws in people and making these tap passes to Zantetsu make it so it's extremely, extremely hard to guard him. But eventually, and after a bit of just going back and forth, being that Isagi goes back and forth with him and Kira as a combination and Ryo and Nagi as another combination, they go at it over and over and over again, racking up the points, and the score would fly up to be an insane amount. The game would end up being a tie. And the main reason for that is because they can't really stop Nagi that well. And a tie, when I'm saying this, it would be more like 9-9, less than 1-1. So it would end up being a score of 9-9. And let's just say Kira got a lot of excessive goals that he didn't really need, but at the same time, at least statistically, he has them now, so it will help him in Blue Lock in its entirety. Now, the main reason why this game went crazy like this was, obviously, it was hard for anybody to guard Nagi. That's just flat out. Isagi himself doesn't really have insane physical and mental capabilities of predicting and conflicting Nagi. Yes, Raichi is a really good defender, and he was able to make some sort of effort, but Isagi doesn't have the vision like he normally does. And the main reason why he was so good offensively, especially with making other people so much more talented, was because everybody has an innate talent for, or an innate weapon for, an offense capable striker. So when someone doesn't have any defensive capabilities, let's just say that's kind of more difficult for Isagi to guard, and this would frustrate him. He would believe that as himself, he needs to find a way to stop these people. He needs to find a way to play some defense, because yes, he might be quote unquote trying to become the best striker, but that still becomes a massive issue for him. He's a defensive liability, and yes, he makes people better defensively, but not enough to the point that they would be able to stop someone like Nagi. Or at least because Nagi had a massive evolution. An evolution that all became clear because of the initial restrictions Isagi was putting upon Nagi. Because there were some back and forths that Nagi struggled in and had to rely on people like Ryo and also Zantetsu to more or less bail him out. But those restrictions made Nagi better, so much better. Now, with all that said, the game would end in a tie. And it wouldn't really matter because both of the teams would go on and pass on through. Isagi's team being that of Team Z and Nagi's team being that of Team V. An apology would ensue from Nagi. He would apologize for what he said to Isagi. He's seen what Isagi's capable of and what he can do, and now he understands why he loves football so damn much. But that's all that really happens in terms of communication. The next little bit would be Jinpachi Ego explaining exactly what the point of this first selection really was. And at the end of the day, they have so much more to do. So much more to do. And when they start doing their physical and more or less insane training before the beginning of the second selection, Isagi takes it more serious than anybody there, pushing himself to insane limits. And even after all the training is said and done, he does more training because he feels that he's going to fall behind, that he's going to more or less limit himself to the point that he won't be able to keep up with these people, that he won't be able to keep up with the best strikers in Blue Lock, especially defensively. That's what's hurting him. That's what's worrying him. And that is where his talent enhancement is kind of a drawback, because his own physical abilities are lackluster. They're not as good. And frankly, he'll fall behind if he's not careful. So he pushes himself harder than anybody could possibly even imagine. And he even works with many people. During this time, he works with people like Bachira to try to stop his dribbling and try to use his own talent enhancement to put a cage on somebody, kind of like using a talent dehancement or a talent degradation. But at the same time, he's never even thought about doing something like that, and he can't really do it in general. It's enhancement for a reason, and that's all he can really do. He can make people better. It's hard for him to make people worse. So when he tries to go up against Bachira one-on-one, it's extremely difficult. But he explains to Isagi that he needs to more or less get in some sort of rhythm, that he can't stay so flat-footed. But when he's playing with other people, when he's naturally moving around the field on the offensive side of the ball, it's as if he's flowing, as if he's in some sort of, what's the phrase for it? Isagi would respond and would ask if he means some sort of like flow state. And Bachira would say, yeah, that flow state. And Isagi would say that he does feel kind of different when just running around, when he's just kind of facilitating everything that's happening. And Bachira would smile and say that is very true, that he seems so, well, excited. He's having so much fun throughout it. Isagi would nod, and he would realize that that's what he needs to do. He may not be the best defender. He may not be the best at shutting certain things down, but if he just gets 25% better, 30% better, his kind of mediocre defense turns into elite defense with his talent enhancement. And that's what clicks for him. He doesn't need to be the best. He doesn't need to be the best defender, because as long as he's over a certain point, he can make everybody such a good defender that it makes him look like the best defender. He thanks Bachira, thanking him so much, saying that he thinks he understands it and he knows now. But the one worry he has is anything to do with him on his own. And unlucky for him, Blue Lock Man is exactly what he was afraid of. 90 minutes to score 100 goals on a holographic man. Yeah, even Jinpachi Ego is watching this and is curious to see how Isagi will get by him. Because in the beginning, he kind of coasts. He does pretty well. But once he gets to max level, it's obvious that he's just nowhere near as good. And he's obvious that he's struggling. And that struggle would boil over. And during this time, Isagi can feel his body collapsing, aching. And he can feel that everything, well, is collapsing around him. That he's going to be eliminated. And he's not even going to be eliminated by a person. He's going to be eliminated by a goddamn hologram. A robot. Isagi begins to think. And as he does, he begins to see the goal in a brand new way. He begins to see the goal in a way that he's never seen before. He sees it. Wait, there's soft spots. No, the soft spots then just go away. He begins to see these things more and more, and eventually, he stops thinking. He starts doing, beginning to score goal after goal after goal. And that 90-minute mark, let's just say, he would barely get by. He would finish with a time of 89 minutes. Yeah. He was 1 minute away from being eliminated. And when he walks out, there's basically nobody there. But there is one he sees. Kira. Luckily, Kira was able to get through. And this does reassure Kira that maybe he doesn't need Isagi necessarily. But at the same time, that's his buddy. And Kira doesn't have this egoist mentality, so he awaits the arrival of Isagi. But there's also one more person that's been waiting. Because, well, he doesn't have many people that really want to be in his group. And that's the one and only Shido. And frankly, Isagi doesn't care. He thinks this is a great idea. He thinks that joining up with this guy, he might be new, but it seems like he's talented. He would even ask Shido, hey, are you talented? And Shido would say that he's the most damn talented. And Isagi smiles and says, see, Kira? And if all comes to, fail, we could always just duo it up and we'll whoop every team that we go against, right? In which, of course, this would reassure Kira, and he would smile. And of course, Shido would chime in, saying that if this little bromance is over, that he would like to get on with it, because he doesn't want to wait that much longer. So they do agree, and they head in to the second selection and the 3 versus 3 part of Blue Lock. But here's the thing. The first game is a bit of an awkward one. And the reason for that is, can you guess it? Well, yeah, Shido. Here's the thing. Isagi, Shido, and Kira take on a team. And it's some random team. Some team we don't know much about. But they do lose. But not from the way that you would think. They don't get out-skilled. They don't get out-muscled. They lose on DQ. Yeah. Well, Shido kind of gets antagonized by somebody and is annoyed by the chemistry between Isagi and Kira because he's not getting the ball enough. And when he goes to kind of threaten Isagi and also threaten Kira, Kira backs up Isagi and Shido throws a kick and it lands flush on somebody else when they duck. So his team would lose on DQ, but since they really only saw Kira scoring the goals and doing insane things, they would lose Kira. Kira would get sent off and it would be Isagi and Shido. He would have a conversation with Shido saying that if he really wants for this to work, then he needs to listen seriously. And he tells Shido that there's something in it for both of them. If he listens to Isagi, he'll get him goals. How about the next match? He'll get every single one. And, of course, this would obviously interest Shido to the max. I mean, now that sounds like a plan. Shido asks how they're going to do it, and Isagi begins to explain what he's capable of, and what he does and how he plans to do it. And Shido's shocked. So that's why you're so good with that white-haired dude? Interesting. Now that Shido knows the plan, or at least sort of the plan, Isagi wants to utilize Shido and see what he is truly capable of. He might be a hothead, but maybe if he could put a leash and some restraints on the hothead, he might be able to make him into the most lethal weapon possible. It's as if Isagi was given the perfect person to make the best striker out of. But then something clicks in his head. But that idea that clicked in his head would eventually just disappear. Because maybe he's overthinking it. There's no way the creator of Blue Lock would put the most wild card-esque player on his team to make him that much better. Right? Right? Well, probably not. Isagi and Shido would look for whoever is going to challenge him next, and they would run into two very familiar people, or Isagi would be familiar with them, Bachira and Kunigami. So the challenge would ensue, and the next match would be Isagi and Shido versus Bachira and Kunigami. But that is for the next part of What If Isagi Had a Talent Enhancement Weapon. Now, with that said, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope y'all have an amazing day. Later.